Today, we're going to look at NECA's Universal Monsters Ultimate Dracula. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to look at maybe, perhaps, the greatest Dracula of all time, the Bela Lugosi Universal Monsters Dracula. Now this is probably my favorite Dracula movie. All around best Dracula movie, I will say. Is he the best Dracula? He's got to be one or two. He can't be below that. I do really like Christopher Lee as Dracula. There's some things that he does that Bela Lugosi don't do, and there's things that Bela Lugosi does that Christopher Lee does not do. And one of those things Christopher Lee does not do is he does not have that Transylvania dialect, that the Dracula, that thing going for him. He stays British the whole time. So, but Bela Lugosi, of course, he's Hungarian, so he has a natural dialect. So, didn't hurt any for him just to keep that going. Now, this was made in 1931, so very, very early. Not really early in Bela Lugosi's career, though. He had been an actor. He had acted in Hungary, and then he had moved to Germany, acted there, and those were all silent films. So when you see Bela Lugosi using his hands and his facial expressions and his body movement, he is a seasoned silent film actor. So he's used to using those body language, facial expressions, hand expressions to express his emotion to the audience because he was a silent film. So, just a talent. So look at him and watch him act in Dracula, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, another reason why I would put this ahead of any other Dracula, I don't care who was in it, if it was loosely based on Bram Stoker's or anything, in my opinion, is Dwight Frye as Renfield. Now, Dwight Frye to me is so good in this, so good. He is phenomenal actor, in my opinion. He outshines Bela Lugosi to me. He really does. I think he carries the movie for a long part of it. Now, not that Bela Lugosi's doing a bad job, but Dwight Frye, I think, deserves a lot of credit, as does Edward Van Sloan as Van Helsing. He's also very good and a very talented actor. So I think between those three right there, there's not another movie that has three actors with that kind of talent in it anywhere, anytime in the history of film. So, yeah, Edward Van Sloan, Dwight Frye, Bela Lugosi. I think it don't get better than that. But this is not about the movie. This is more about the action figure. So let's take a look at this packaging. Now, I will say that this is my mint-on-card copy of this action figure. Now, I do have right here one that I've already opened. So, and this is what I'm going to open. The reason why I'm reopening it is because I did not document it on film or on camera. So, and I have not put it out there as part of my YouTube library. So that's what I'm going to do today. So keep in mind as I'm opening this, it has been open. I've had it out. I've played with it. I've displayed it. Last Halloween, it was on in my living room table, along with a lot of my other Universal Monsters. So this has been out of the package. But let's take a look at this packaging. Unbelievable. I mean, the way they do that kind of flat paint, but then they have this high gloss on this Dracula, and then on Bela Lugosi's face right there. Everything else is kind of a flat, and it pops a little bit. You can feel it. On the top, you have Dracula NECA warnings for choking hazard, 17 years of age and up. This side, Dracula, good picture of our action figure. Universal Monsters here, NECA, and Real Toys. Other side is the same thing except a different picture of our action figure. Bottom, we have our makers of our action figure, which is really awesome. I like to let people know about this because it does show all your producers, your sculptors, your fabricators, your tailoring, everything about making this action figure. And then we have the Lugosi logo. That means that the Lugosi estate gave approval to NECA to create a likeness of Bela Lugosi. And then we also have the Universal Monsters logo, which means that Universal also gave them permission to use the Dracula name and likeness. Then we have barcodes, labels, warnings. And on the back, we get pictures of our action figure. And bottom, Dracula right here real big. So that's it on the packaging, which is beautiful in my opinion. Beautiful, beautiful poster art. I don't think they make poster art for movies anymore like they did. I think they were outstanding. The name of the title pops. We get the star of the show right there. I think it was awesome. A lot better. Like our Mummy and over here our Wolfman. I love that movie poster art from the 20s and 30s and 40s. All right, let's open the Velcro, get a peek at that. So we get another action figure right here posing. And then there he is in here in his plastic prison. The big window opening there, you get to see everything that you're getting ready to buy. So the only thing I don't have in here because I have it on my shelf is this bat. So we will go over that. So we'll call that our first accessory, which is you get this clear pole, a base to put your clear pole in, and then you get this awesome looking vampire bat. And he just pops right on there. And you can angle him up, you can angle him down, you can keep him flat, however you want. So really nice accessory. All right, now let's get Dracula out of here. And I put my knife in here and give this a wiggle. And there it is. Let's get Dracula out of here. And he does have a backdrop if we want to look at that. Sometimes these are a little cantankerous to get out. But this is a photo opportunity if you want to put this out and then put your action figure in front of that. And we got a coffin here. It looks like we're in a basement. We got some concrete steps, a pillar, so kind of creepy looking. That's all right. And here he is in his plastic coffin. Check it out. Looking good. All right, first thing we have is his cape. Now this is as important as anything is Dracula's cape. Got to have the cape. Now I will say I did like Christopher Lee's cape better in Horror of Dracula, which we opened that action figure earlier on the channel. But yeah, both capes are phenomenal. And Dracula just wouldn't be Dracula without the cape. And I have heard, don't know if this is true or not, leave a comment if you do know, that Dracula was buried in his casket in real life with his Dracula cape. Bela Lugosi was. All right, so let's pop this plastic bubble off that holds our accessories in. And the first accessory we have is this, looks like a pewter or a tin or not sure. It is made out of plastic, but it's supposed to look like an old pewter or copper plate, silver maybe even. So we have that dish, and then we get a bottle of wine. Bottle of wine for Dracula, which he does not drink wine, if you remember that in the movie. When Renfield asked Dracula if he'll be joining him with a glass of wine, he says, I never drink wine. And then we have these chalices. They're like a tin cup chalice, like in Jimmy Buffett Tin Cup Chalice, if you haven't heard that song, but that's what that looks like. And there is blood in there. Not actually blood, but there is a red paint in those that make it look like blood. And then we get this candle with it on a candle holder. Kind of looks like a dragon, I think. The candle is lit. There is a flame on it, and there is some wax running down. So awesome detail in that. And then we get hands. First hand I'm going to pull out is going to be a right candle holding hand. So this is to hold that candle that we just pulled out. Next, we're going to get a left hand, kind of a dramatic, one of those silent film dramatic hand gestures that Bela Lugosi used to use in the movie. And the last one is going to be a right hand. And this kind of, again, a little bit drama to that hand. You can see some emotion pouring out of it. And these hands are awesome. You can see the tendons, the veins. It's pretty neat, the bone. Our last accessories are going to be our head sculpt. And this one is open mouth Dracula getting ready to bite somebody in the neck or putting somebody under a spell like he does in the movies. So pretty awesome. Great likeness to Bela Lugosi on this. And then we get another head sculpt, and this is a serious head sculpt, kind of just looking straight, no emotion. So very nice. We will go over these head sculpts in a little bit. And then we get our action figure, and here he is. Bela Lugosi has been resurrected. Look at this. Let's go through articulation real quick. He looks down pretty good and looks up not bad. Not great, but not bad. His head side to side, and it goes all the way around. Of course, his head, we will be able to pull that off because we have these extra heads. He has shoulder all the way around. He has a single butterfly in there. Now, it does not have that double butterfly like our G.I. Joe classified figures has. So he's not going to get a lot of motion out of there. He's not going to be able to go backwards on his arm like I can. But it goes back far enough. I mean, he's pretty much level with his back. And then his elbow goes up. It is single jointed, pinless, and there is that Nolan Ryan rotation on the elbow. So he can move his elbow up and down. His wrist goes up and down all the way around. Hands are removable. He has, I'm not sure, there may be an ab crunch in there, but it's hard to tell. You can't really see because he's got this jacket on, but he does indeed have a hula hoop waist. He's got these big splits. He can do pretty decent straddles. He's got single jointed knees. Now his legs will rotate in and out. Not sure if you can see that, but these thighs will rotate in and out. There is not an upper thigh cut, but right on that ball joint, it will rotate in and out. His knee will rotate in and out. And his ankles, he cannot do any pirouetting. He is on a rocker, but it's not rocking very much with that pant cuff on there. But that's it on articulation, pretty much. I can't think of anything else. Let's check out Dracula, Bela Lugosi. Unbelievable likeness. I mean, this is awesome. He's got this smile to this head sculpt right here. Looks really good. He's got the bow tie on. He's got the emblem on around his neck, and it is red. Looks really good. He's got a handkerchief coming out. But, man, he's got the widow's peak, which I'm not sure if Bela Lugosi had that much of a widow's peak in real life. Maybe he did, and I'm just not noticing it. But to me, it seems like it was more just hair pulled back, not with that widow's peak. But, yeah, otherwise, it looks a lot like him in his Dracula makeup and his Dracula facial expressions. Looks a ton like him. Back, he's got this tail on his jacket. His pants are all black. He does have this white vest on, and he's got these chains coming from his button that would go around under this black coat, if you could get that up, but you can't. But you can. He's got great shiny black shoes on, so Dracula 100%. He does have on his left hand a big bling bling ring on his ring finger there. So that looks really good. That's about it on Dracula. I mean, he is awesome. Now the big part right here is getting this cape on, because this is going to be Dracula right here. Pop that on there, and that is 110% Dracula now. No mistake about it. And he looks awesome with this. Very awesome. Now, this film was directed by a guy named Todd Browning. And Todd Browning worked a whole lot with Lon Chaney Sr. But I do believe this was his first work with Todd Browning's work with Bela Lugosi. If I'm wrong about that, leave a comment. Let me know what other movie he was in. But he did a lot of work with Lon Chaney. Not Lon Chaney Jr., but Lon Chaney Sr. Played, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, London After Midnight, which we did open. So a lot of Lon Chaney movies and Todd Browning, which were all silent films. So Todd Browning had a knack for directing people to use their body language and their facial expressions, because he was a long time silent film director. And Bela Lugosi also acted in quite a few silent films, probably 25 or 30 of them, between his time in Hungary and his time in Germany. And then he probably didn't do any in the United States. Well, maybe he did. I think he moved to the United States in the mid-20s, so he might have been in some. I think he did get into plays, though. And he did play Dracula in the Broadway play before the movie. And when they was, when the actors were trying out to take the lead role in the movie Dracula, of course, Bela Lugosi had a leg up because he was in the play for 3 or 4 years in a row. But yeah, so, and he obviously got it, and he obviously earned it, because he blows it out of the water. Very, very good performance of Dracula. And I do watch this movie probably, I don't know, if you was asked my wife, she'd say 100 times a year. But it's probably more like 10, 12 times a year. I do watch this a lot. It's kind of a comfort movie to me. I can close my eyes, drift off to sleep, and I will wake up, and it's usually over, but then I'll turn my TV off. But I can close my eyes and just see the whole movie happening. And just listening to the sound. One thing that I think, does it help or does it hurt? This is a debate that people have. Does not having a soundtrack, if you watch Dracula, there is no soundtrack to it. There's no orchestra playing in the background at times. Now, I could see it benefiting not having one, because there is a creep element to that. I mean, it's a creepiness to Dracula. The settings are just fabulous, and without that music, it just kind of draws you in even more into what's going on on the film, and you're noticing all the set pieces and everything. Now, if there was an orchestra, though, when Dracula comes in, could you imagine that? Dun, 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 or whatever they're going to use. But pretty cool that it doesn't have one, and it still is considered one of the greatest films of all time. So hats off Todd Browning, hats off to Bela Lugosi, Dwight Frye, Edward Van Sloan. Just a fabulous movie. But that being said, I thought I'd get a little bit of the movie out in there. So don't forget, check it out, 1931 Dracula. You're going to love it, have to love it. All right, we will try a different head. So that one is really good. He's smiling and he's pretty happy, but he's also given maybe putting you in his possession. Now we'll go to this stern looking, just regular face. I mean, he does look pissed though. Bela Lugosi looks pissed here. He's using those facial expressions. His brow is kind of down a little bit, but no mouth expression on him. But man, that looks good. Looks so good. Those blue eyes really stand out on this action figure. Even though this was a black and white film, apparently Bela Lugosi had blue eyes, because man, do they ever have them blue on this. So this looks really good. And I would think this would be the time when he's first meeting Renfield in his castle, and he hasn't quite put him under his spell yet. So we will pull this head sculpt off now. Now we're going to go for this one. This one is the open mouth one where he's getting ready to suck some blood here. He's getting ready to bite Mina on the neck, or he's looking at Renfield's paper cut. If you remember that scene when Renfield cuts his finger, or was it his thumb, finger or thumb, on a piece of slip of paper, and Dracula sees it. And when he gets close, he's getting ready to suck Renfield's blood, and then all of a sudden the cross falls out, and Dracula sees it. And that's another example of that silent film era acting that you see from Bela Lugosi as he does that part. Because I mean, when that falls out, he gets shocking. I mean, you can just tell that he knew how to use body language and facial expressions from being in silent films. Maybe I'm overthinking that. Maybe I'm not. But in my mind, I would think that actors that acted in silent films would use their hands more and their facial expressions and body positioning better than somebody that acted on with, they called them talkies, once they went from silent films to talkie films where they had vocals in them. But yeah, this one is awesome. Really, really mean looking. His brow is really down now, but man, looks so good. You can see his teeth. And of course we know there was no blood in Dracula and there was no fangs in Dracula. He didn't need that. Plus, I'm sure the censors wouldn't let it get through. So you had to watch what he was doing in the 30s. You couldn't have a lot of blood and a lot of fangs and scary stuff. It just wouldn't make it through the censors, and then it's going to be considered like a adult film almost. But yeah, very good. So let's try some other hands here. And this hand, this right hand, we're going to pull it off, and we have another right hand that is a lot like it, but he's given a little bit of a Vulcan Spock hand gesture here. And he must use this hand gesture in the movie because NECA really does a good job of capturing a scene in a movie and just making it exactly like it. And then we'll change out our left hand, the one with the ring on it. And this one here also, funny enough, is given just a little bit, not as much of a Vulcan sign as this right hand right here, but a little bit. But very, very emotion-filled hands on this action figure. Now we will take this right hand off, and we're going to put this gripping hand on because this is the hand that's going to hold our candle holder right here. This candle holder is awesome. Like I mentioned, it is looking like a dragon a little bit. I mean, this fits unbelievable in his hands. He's holding it just like you or I would hold that candle right there. And I'll get some close-ups of that, but that is amazing how they sculpted that like that hand that way. Because looking at the hand in the box, you're like, what is this hand for? This looks silly. But once you get this in his hand, man, it is awesome. And then we have a plate, this dish here. So we're going to take handle hand off, and I'm going to get this flat hand right here. It's the most flat hand in the package, and it is a right hand. You turn that baby over like that, and then you can take this plate and kind of wedge it in between his thumb and his flat hand just like that. And very carefully, you can put your bottle of wine and your 2 chalices on there. And now Dracula is carrying this to Renfield to offer him some wine, where Renfield will say, "Are you not joining me?" And that's when he says that line I love so much. "I never drink wine." I love that. I love that scene. He gives it that dramatic pause because we know he's drinking. He's not drinking wine. He's drinking blood. And then, of course, here, like I mentioned, here is our other accessory, which is Dracula in his vampire bat form. So awesome stuff here. Highly recommend this figure. I feel like the articulation at this point is really good, really sturdy. Early on in NECA's, some of my NECA figures I have, which is, I would say, my Freddy Krueger, some of my Jason Voorheeses that came out in 2015 and 2016, 17, 18. Little iffy, bending legs and stuff. Some of mine popped out, some of them, nothing that couldn't fix, but they would pop out, out of socket, and heads didn't go on quite as well. But at this point, I believe this was released in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2022 or 2023. It could have been the end of 2022. This is 2024 right now. So, yeah, 2 or 3 years old. But, yeah, it is super sturdy. Now, let's get some comparing figures out here because I want to check him out with another Todd Browning vampire, which was Professor Burke from London After Midnight. Now, both of these guys were directed by Todd Browning. Now, this is Lon Chaney Sr. right here, and, of course, Bela Lugosi that we just went through. Now, this one we opened on the channel, and I really like this one. Very sturdy, too. Now, this is a 2024 release, 2022 or 2023 for Bela. But both of these, unbelievable. And I will get some close-up shots of both of these together. And then we're going to look at another one. Now, this is a silent film. Max Schreck is Count Orlok on the Dracula, but they didn't go through the proper chain of command to get the rights from Bram Stoker's wife to make this film, which was called Nosferatu. And this is Count Orlok, who was pretty much Dracula, but it was changed up. Their names were changed. And this was a German film, and it was silent. So I highly recommend seeing this film also. I believe it was 1927 maybe, which would be 4 years before our Universal Monsters Bela Lugosi Dracula came out. And then our last one I want to get out here is going to be this guy right here. Now, I do love his Dracula. This is Christopher Lee as Dracula in Horror of Dracula. 1958, I want to say, was this film. So this guy is the head man right here. And then we get Bela Lugosi, and then we get Christopher Lee. All three of these guys were amazing Draculas or Dracula-inspired vampires. Very awesome. Movies are totally different. I would say these two are a little closer to being the same movie. Now, this one is, I don't know. I am between all of these, and I know people say this a lot, but I enjoyed the novel. Not that I don't enjoy all these movies. I really do. But when I see a movie and then that is inspired by a novel and they veer way off like this one does, so you got to kind of look at it as we got to save time. The novel Dracula is probably a 20-hour book, but we got to save time. We got to get our characters all in line. You got to get to know your characters. It's hard to do that. A novel, you got the time and to do that. People can take as much time as they want to read a book. So I'm not sure which one is most like the movie or the book. I'm going to say probably Universal Monsters, even though, I mean, it is still far, far away. I would say actually Bram Stoker's Dracula, the one with Keanu Reeves in, is probably, and Gary Oldman plays Dracula. It's probably as close as you're going to get to the book. But Gary Oldman just he did good job, but not like these guys. These guys did it with little to no special effects. Gary Oldman, look what he got. Look at the stuff he got. Got all that makeup artist, state of the art stuff. But these guys right here, these are your forefathers right here. And if you haven't seen them, go out, check them out. That's Nosferatu, Universal Monsters, Dracula, and Hammer Films Horror of Dracula. See these three movies right here and come back, leave a comment. Let me know which one you like the best. But that's going to be it for Universal Monsters, for NECA, for Bela Lugosi, and for Dracula. Until next time, oh yeah.